Good morning. In this lesson we're going to make the Harry Potter Deathly Hallows pendant, and we'll use a sterling silver wire with sterling silver chain. Very few tools are needed. You just a couple, 3 pairs of pliers, a little hammer, and a bench plate and torch. And most of this can be obtained locally, or you can buy it from our website, mybenchjeweler.com. And we're going to get started here on how to make this. So stay tuned for lesson 1. Good evening. As promised, I'm going to make a Deathly Hallows pendant. I have 4 grandkids, and I think back in the day they were kind of into the Harry Potter movies. I know they like the series, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to make one of these. I know there's a lot of them on YouTube, but this one here is kind of our first lesson that I want to work with you on, especially for those who are just getting started, or they're just looking to see how other jewelers do it. I'm Mike, and I have my bench jeweler. mybenchjeweler.com is my little website, and I do sell some tools and wax mountings and whatnot. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go ahead and make one of these that I made this here yesterday. And you can see I put a very large jump ring on it right here. I don't know that, yeah, you can see it, I think. And I did that because the boys would want a bigger rope chain, and the girls would want a Figaro chain. So that's what I did. I made it so we could put either one on there. I used sterling silver 18 gauge. Now you can buy that in a number of different ways. I make it up and sell it in 1 foot straight rod, like you see right here. And I also coil it in 2 foot coils of wire. I don't like to work on in copper or brass or aluminum. You know, if you're going to make something, you might as well make it right. Make it out of sterling silver or gold. And these will probably sell. I've never tried to sell them, but they probably would sell. We'll put this one in the showcase if the boys don't want it, but I think Lily, my young granddaughter, will. So that's kind of where we're at there. So now, if you excuse me, if you want to try and just make this out of coiled wire, you can. It's just harder because it's not straight, and you got to kind of straighten it out to make it. So with that, you know, it's no big deal. I just prefer to use with straight wire until if I gotta make jump rings and stuff, then the curved wire works just fine. Unfortunately, I'm out of 18 gauge coiled sterling silver wire, so we'll have to make do with what I got until the next order. Until I roll it on the mill in the other room, and I can show you a series of that too. So the first thing I did here, we'll get this one out of the way. The first thing I did is I just take a regular tape measure. You don't need anything special for this. And I always start somewhere down the line, and I put a black dot at each inch, because we're going to make this a 1-inch triangle. So there'll be 3 marks, each one spaced out 1 inch. That's the first thing you want to do, so you lay it out a little bit. Then you might want to cut it just a hair past the last mark. A smidge, I call it. So we're going to cut it. And the reason I do that is because I don't want to bend this up until I'm ready to make the ring on the pendant. So now we got that. You can either use one of two things. You can use round nose pliers, and you'll need to get a set of these. I do recommend that you buy a better set. The thing that you want are the round tongs on these, quite sturdy, and they make them really about any kind of size you want. And some of these, they don't they bend as you're trying to work with them. So the better the pair of pliers, the better your work's going to be. So it doesn't pay to get too cheap. The problem is that if you start buying equipment and you don't like doing the work, then you've got a lot of costs sitting around, and it's not that easy to sell tools. So you're going to need a but the first thing we're going to come behind the first little mark right here. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I didn't do this on this last one. I'm going to take and I'm going to put a little cut mark. I put a very tiny little cut mark on the first one and the second mark. I did that so these will bend a little straighter than. Now you just grab it and make a triangle out of it. So we're just going to go straight up at about 45 degrees. And we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to go straight up and about 45 degrees. So you start to see now how nice those two bends are with a flat nose rather than a round nose. Now last night I made them with a round nose, and it didn't come out quite as nicely. So even after 40 years of doing this, I still make mistakes. So now I'm just playing with it a little bit. Alright, we got her. So let's see if we can get you to the soldering station here. Alright. Now, I generally use a torch like this here. And I have a couple other torches, and I use one similar to this for a lot of silver work that requires more heat. And you can start out with a little torch like this. And I think these are like $16 on my website plus your shipping. You have to buy your butane when you after you get it, because you can't ship gas in the mail. Not very easily. You can anyway. So first thing we're gonna need here is some gold silver paste. I generally use the paste rather than the chip solder, because this actually flows a lot nicer than the paste solder or the chip solder does, and we don't want any problems. So let's see, I don't know, you should be able to see this. Let's go ahead and turn this on. Alright, let's shut this light off for a second. Now, when you use a torch, you have to be precise with what you're trying to do. So, if you try to run your piece into the torch clear down here, it's too close, and you lose some heat. So down here is the less part of the heat, and clear to the tip is where your hottest part is. So you want to try and stay in the outer point right here. You can see how it's heating fast. And you probably will be working right out about here. You don't want to get in too close because you'll melt the project. So this is what I call really a beginner's lesson. It teaches you how to form wire, teaches you how to make rings, jump rings, and it teaches you how to make bales. And so we have a three-piece deal, and that's kind of why I chose this. For the second reason is it gives you a chance to do some real practice. I don't believe that if you're going to get into the jewelry making business, you should really try to learn how to solder right away. It's not that hard. Yes, you'll probably melt a couple pieces, and you could probably go buy some copper wire and do some practice. Copper does melt at just about the same temperature as sterling silver does, and you don't want to waste your silver. But if it was me and I'm learning that, I think I'd just start. Now this is sterling silver paste, and I can get that too. It's kind of pricey, but I like it better than I do the chip solder. So now bear in mind, I don't use one of these very often, so we'll give it a try. Let's see, can you see? Yeah. Okay, I have the two ends, and I put a little paste solder on there, and it's sterling silver solder. So let me get my head in there. Now see where I'm at? I'm clear back here, and I'm slowly moving in. You got to watch your bar. That's soldered just right now. And I also saw I started to get this side here heated just a little bit too much. So I had to back off and then come back in, start again. And the good thing about paste solder is it's forgiving. It will still flow even though you've started it. So let's go ahead and... Now this is a 6x6 steel blank. And I can get these, I think 6x6 by 3/4 inch. Now the heat brought that piece up a little bit. Not a problem. We'll just take it right on the steel here, and we'll flatten it out. And we've got a nice. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to fix the points a little bit on this one. I'm trying to make sure you can see what I'm doing. I'm just rounding the top of it off. And the top is also going to be our bail. Now, a lot of people wouldn't do that. They'd say, well, you don't want another solder joint there. And I don't know, I've always used the same melt point on my solder. I don't seem to have a problem with it, and I think if you just practice a little bit, you won't either. A lot of people use 3 different grades of solder, easy, medium, and hard, because they don't want things to fall apart after they've soldered them. I just generally speaking, I just generally use medium to medium hard, and that's what I do. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to see if we can get the bar, which would be the elder's wand. And we're going to need a piece, roughly 7/8 of an inch. So now we'll go back to our wire. And we'll just use this. I was going to use another piece of scrap. Now that's another thing while we're doing this. Don't, when you cut a little snip off or something like that, make sure you try and keep track of where you've got it. You can put them in your finger when you cut them, and put them in a little box or a little plastic canister of some sort, because later on we can take all that chipped silver and we can melt it down and reuse it. And that way it saves you a lot of money. Silver's expensive when you get, I mean, this is like $3 or $4, so a 12-inch piece is not all that expensive to work with. But it adds up after a while. And wait till you start in gold. You'll get an education then. So we know about 7/8, so I'm just going to go ahead and kind of guess. Okay. Use your back side of your side cutters. And by the way, these side cutters here, Ace Hardware. I do sell good ones, but I just happen to have these, and I couldn't find my good ones, so that's what we got. All right, now we got the invisibility cloak. Here's the Elder's wand, and now we need the resurrection stone, which is just a circle. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to take a mandrel, which you're going to have one of these too, and there is a formula to measuring these, but since it's just easier to kind of eyeball it here, it's not the right way to do that, I guess, but I know where it has to be bent. So now I do have that. I'll shut this off for the time being. I don't know how long those run, about 30 minutes on a full refill. Now here's some, this was straight wire, and I managed to bend it all up while I was trying to make the first one. So we want to come out here to the very edge of your mandrel, clear to the very edge. We want to put our thumb there. And we want to go past our bend. There we go. Now it doesn't look perfectly straight, but that's alright. We'll make it straight in a little bit. So now we'll just go ahead and it got away from me. Just exactly what I told you not to do, I did. Alright, there is our resurrection stone. Okay, this next thing we're going to do is we're just going to split it apart a little bit, because I'm going to file those straight. I'm just holding it with my hand. Now, if you get the right kind of file, you'll have a straight edge on one side. And so that's where you want to go, because you don't want to mar up your silver any more than you have to. Okay, and that one's pretty good. And that one's pretty good. Okay, now we can use the rounding pliers. All right. Now I'm not too concerned with the how round this is right now, because we'll go back and re-round it, and then we're going to peen it down here and flatten it, and then we'll also flatten this. So now we see we've saved it this, and we haven't damaged it. And like I said, now if I was just going to make the jump rings, I would do it in coiled wire. It would be easier to do, but I don't have any right now, so we'll just do with what we got. All right. I'm going to go ahead and put put a little paste on here. And okay, we're going to take the very tip of the torch. We're just going to come, in fact, I'm going to move this back a little bit so I can see where that tip's at. Just in and out. We're going to let that cool just for a second. All right. Now you can use your steel hammer. Trying to hold this and show you how to do this. What I'm doing is I'm going to try and, that works. Now by just tapping it like I did there, I'm actually stretching it. All right. Almost there. And one more time and we'll get this. You can see how I'm doing it now though. I just put my finger on it just like that, and all we're trying to do is just get it so it touches all three sides of the invisibility cloak. I liked Harry Potter. Even at my age, I did like to watch him, so he was kind of fun to watch. So now I think what we can do is cheat a little bit. And we are touching all three sides. Easy does it, huh? Yep, we're there. Alright, now you got that done. Now the next problem we're going to have is we're going to have a problem with the Elder's Wand, because we don't really want to lay it on top of the circle. So that's our next problem. How to solve that. So that's part of design work and trial and error and so forth. So let's go ahead now Let's see if we can get this to solder in there without melting something. Alright, do I get our paste solder out here? There you go. Now, you know, I think I got that. You can turn this torch up quite a ways, but we got so much heat we don't need it. So now silver flows wherever the heat's at. So I'm going to use a little tungsten probe here. Okay, so let's give it a try. We'll put a little extra paste solder. Let's see. Okay, that one's done. One more to go and we're in home free there. Be a little careful I don't burn myself. These torches are unforgiving. If you get your finger or your arm or anything close to it, it will melt and burn you good. So you want to be careful when you use this, and by all means keep these out of the reach of your kids. It does have safety clicks on it, but alright. When it just starts to go, that's when you want to get off of it. So, and we have all 3 points soldered. So our next step now will be it's going to be a little hot. Put it back on our little steel plate here, and I just want to flatten a little bit all the way around. Now you could use a jeweler's saw, but I'm thinking that the saw might snag and bend your piece, and we don't want to bend that because it's really hard to straighten them back out. So if you buy a small Dremel tool, make sure you get one that's handleable, usable with your hands. And they make all sorts of these different cutters and stuff. They even make a little diamond one. And I might be able to find stones like this too. I'm not sure I got these. What I'm trying to do is get that marked out good. It looks like I did. Alright, got that. What we're trying to do is get that opened up just enough so that the Elders one will slip through there, and then we can trim it to fit inside the triangle, and it'll lay flat inside the oh, almost lost it. It'll lay flat inside the stone here, or the circle. The resurrection stone. Not sure what that meant, the resurrection stone, but that's what they called it. So, and I didn't want that to happen. All right, I think we got it though. Okay, we cut through it and we widened it a little bit, and we'll see if we can be just enough to get our and we're very close. We'll just use okay, I think you're probably going to want to get a small set of needle files too. And I believe I have all of that stuff up on the website that you can look at, or you can maybe search it for other places. I think we're pretty reasonable on everything we have, so it's just enough to get you started, so you see whether you like it or not. It's, you know, I find it enjoyable to make something custom made and then find out that you can sell it on your, well, we have a store, but you know, we could put it on eBay. We did things like that a long time ago, and SD is that name, and there's probably several others. You can put it on Facebook under your trades exchange. It's a lot of fun, and it's gratifying when you make something that you really like and somebody else likes it better and wants to buy it from you. All we're doing is flattening the bar out so that it fits in there and looks fairly straight. Okay, to save a little time, I went ahead and just filed that elder's wand of the bar down so that it would actually just fit in there, instead of sitting here trial and error and wasting a lot of valuable time. I know everybody's busy and it's hard to keep these videos down under 5-10 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and solder the base in first. Now we got paste solder at the top. I can't tell whether my big head's in the way or not, but okay, we got the top. The last piece we got to do is the between the circles so that they don't bend at a different time or something. So if you don't solder those in there, they would catch eventually, and then you'd have a not a round circle. So this torch doesn't work too bad. Like I said, I don't generally use them. I just sell them so you can use them. I want that to flow a little nicer. Now we got that to flow. So what I want to do is turn it over. Okay, it flowed really nice there. And the top, I kind of like to get a little more silver solder in that. So we'll just hit it again on the back side. There we go. Now, if you wanted to make earrings out of these, you could. You could make 2 of them. Since we know the dimensions and how we're doing this, we don't have to try and do 2 at a time by holding the wire, two pieces of wire, and making the bends. Just make them the same here, and you'll see that. Let's see if we can find that. Where did I put that? Here. The other one is going to be really close. You'd never know if we made these into earrings. So we're almost done. So I know this video kind of running a little bit long, but this is a lesson or a tutorial, and we're trying to get you acquainted with how to do a little bit of wire forming, which is what we've done. We formed the wire. We made a large circle ring out of the silver. We cut a bar. We learned how to cut in between these two. You could do that with a jeweler's saw, but I think if you could find a little flex shaft or a little motorized cutter like I have here, and then you can find little cutters like this. They make all kinds of them. You just don't want it to get away from you and run over the top of your piece when you're trying to cut it. And they do like to jump around, those flex shafts do. So, alright, we've got that pretty well done. So, the next thing we want to do before we get any further is we want to take our hammer and we're going to flatten it just a little bit. I think it looks a little nicer when it's flatter. Now you can make these out of 12 gauge or 16 gauge. I chose 18 because it doesn't cost as much and easier to bend the wire with. Lots of fun, really. We're kind of having a really easy run at this tonight. So, alright, now let's get to, I still have a bent wire here, so we're going to use it. So our next little step is going to be making a jump ring. So we can alright, there's a nice little jump ring, and we'll just take that and cut it. If you've seen how I did that, it was really quite easy. You just hold it and go all the way around, and then just go bypass it just a little bit, and that's all you need to do. Okay, we're going to Straighten that back out just a little bit. And I started right about here, and then I just bring it up because I wanted the flux in the solder to dry up a little bit. Now I'm working almost right over the top. See how it's starting to turn red a little bit? Now I'm going to have to pull that just a little bit this way. Okay, we have these little Mizzy wheels right here. So these I swear by, and you can also get these on our website. They're a silicon carbide rubber Mizzy wheel, and I'll tell you, they clean everything and anything up really fast, and they don't gouge, so they leave it pretty smooth. And you can buy these, and they make cylinder ones, flat wheels, and these were diamond wheel or diamond back. But they clean up your fire scale, and we could have used some boric acid and made a coating for this, but as much work as we had to do on it. So there we go. Got that done. So let's see if we can. Now, our last piece to do is to make another jump ring, and we'll go the opposite direction, and then I'll show you how I do that. Now this one here, I don't think I'll make quite as big as the one I showed you on the finished one. Well, I probably did that clear up here, and we're going to go about to the middle because I don't think we need that quite that big a one. Now, see how I made that a little bit of an oblong? So that way your chain will ride on the top and it won't roll around on it. With a little practice, anybody can do that. So. All right. Okay, the last piece is I made this oblong jump ring for our chain, and we're just going to go ahead, and I'm using a little solder pick. It's got a titanium front on it like this, and I can use that to kind of control the heat of the solder, and it works wonderful when you're trying to hold the solder in one spot. So I'm underneath of it. I've brought the solder up to a ball. Now I don't need the pick anymore. We're done. Just that simple. I do make it easy. I make it look easy. It's not always as easy as you think, but this time it is. So now I'm going to drop it down. The next thing you want to do is get some little buffing wheels. like these here. I'll show you one. You can buff it with one of these, and you'll need to get some little jeweler's rouge, and that will actually make your little item buffed out. I use the regular buffing machine, but occasionally I buff with these little wheels, and they work pretty good. So I guess we could give it a try. Put one of these in here, and I'll get some rouge, and we'll be right back.